Gorgoroth may not be the most celebrated band to rise out of the infamous Norwegian black metal scene, but they are by far the most feared and controversial. With their abrasive sound, chaotic live shows, and well-publicized criminal convictions, Gorgoroth have spread their message of fear and hate across the world. At the center of this storm of controversy is Gal, Gorgoroth's lead vocalist and arguably the most despised man in Norway. In 2005, Gal was charged with torture-like violence and served 9 months in prison, his second incarceration for violent acts. The court claims he tortured his victim for 6 hours while collecting his blood into a cup and threatened to make him drink it. In January of 2007, when he was ready for release, photographer Peter Best took us to Gal's hometown in Norway to get to know the guy terrorized a magazine calls the most evil man alive.
I'm Bergen, welcome to Norway.
The story of Gal and Norwegian black metal actually starts in Newcastle, England, back in 1979, when a local metal band named Venom, responding to the rampant commercialism of heavy metal, decided to take their music in a darker, more extreme direction through satanic lyrics and imagery. This spawned black metal, a term coined by their 1982 album of the same name. From there, the door opened for bands with similar ideas and sounds. Bands like Merciful Fate from Denmark, Hellhammer from Switzerland, and Bathory from Sweden. At the end of the 80s, a second wave of black metal surfaced in Norway. Bands like Darkthrone, Emperor, Immortal, and Mayhem perfected the black metal sound, taking the music's lyrics and stage imagery to even darker extremes.
We chose a different path. It was getting the music not as fast, but atmospheric. It was also not as well produced. It was more about the atmosphere the music created. And also the fact that we chose to have a satanic approach towards the lyrics and also combining those things to be an art form called black metal.
Euronymous called me and I started working with him together with Bergen until '94 when all these stuff started happening to churches.
In the mid-90s, a series of crimes in Norway brought black metal to the attention of the mainstream media. The arson of over a dozen Christian churches and the murder of Mayhem guitarist Euronymous by bandmate Bari Vikenes, who stabbed him 23 times in the face, neck and back.
When it comes to the media coverage of black metal in Norway, it's all started with the criminal cases. I mean, it didn't start with the music when it comes to the tabloid in Norway. It started with the church burnings, with the murders and everything surrounding that area, you know, with Bergen and Bergen and, well, good tabloid stories, basically.
I couldn't believe that they were that foolish. On the other hand, they had an identity because everybody was against them. When you're 17, 18, you believe in a lot of funny things.
I'm not about to say if it's right or wrong.
Okay. than was the music. And I think most of the bands today are centered around the music. But of course you have bands like Gorgoroth who have the ideology still very much intact within the band, the satanic ideology.
Christianity is based only on stolen souls and lives. So, of course, every trace of them should be erased.
Gorgoroth basically means terror.
Gorgoroth is the ugliest sounding band within black metal.
The energy you get from playing in that band really sticks out from everything else I've ever done.
If you've ever seen a live gig, you definitely understand. They're all extreme in the way that they look, and Gal in particular.
The whole makeup and spikes and flames and all of that is about putting faces to the music, really, and enhancing the things we are trying to express.
But when we present things to an audience, it's a message that's important. It's not the music. Gorgoroth is now 3 individuals, being Infernus, me and Gal, and everybody is very egocentric. It's
a group of strong personalities.
But everything leads back to our main agenda. It's spreading the word of Satan, or Satanism in itself.
Well, to put it like this, we demand something from the listener.
The band is spreading fear and use that fear to actually create a change and also get our ideas across.
There is one band that still is covered in the old-fashioned tabloid Norwegian black metal kind of way, and that's Gorgoroth.
Of course, the media are always like to focusing at things that scares people.
All genres, all music genres grow when there's controversy involved.
And I also believe that Gorgoroth like to flirt with the way that they're portrayed by the media.
They serve a lot of things to the media in a way that makes it highly usable.
It's very few people or bands around with a satanic message, you know. So it's all about the music, it's about the blast beats, it's about how high the vocalists scream or whatever. We are not about that. We are about the message.
And like in South America, when you have riots breaking out in Poland, where the tapes of the concert that was filmed was taken by the police.
On February 1st of 2004, Gorgoroth appalled the Catholic nation of Poland with a blasphemous display of satanic imagery at their most controversial show to date.
We had a lot of sheep skulls, as well as a lot of sheep heads on poles all over the front of the stage. And 4 crosses. Upon the crosses was 2 naked men, hooded, and 2 naked hooded women, covered in blood. The sheep represents the flock, and we represent the goat. The individual striving to go our own ways, not necessarily following the flock.
The flock and the sheep, it's the Christian themselves that's chosen this word. From the Bible, it's you have the goat and you have the sheep. So the sheep is the one that belongs to God, and the goat is the one that will be punished because they have a free will.
To get a better understanding of Gal and where he comes from, we traveled across Norway to the small mountain village where he was born and still lives today.
Always been a lot of rumors about Gorgoroth, and always a lot of rumors about Gal. And
Are they true?
well, no, of course. Well, maybe some.
I'm standing outside of Gall's house. Everything you see around us is owned by his family and it's been so for generations. We're the first ever journalists to be here and I'm quite honored, but I'm actually feeling quite scared.
This town, I guess if you could call it, a valley, is named after his family. There's maybe 5 or 6 houses, each of which belongs to a different member of the family. No other houses as far as the eye can see in any direction. Closest town's about a 20-minute drive.
I mean, the guy lives in complete isolation. No telephone, no nothing. I mean, I had to walk. His brother was the only one who had plumbing in the house, and his brother lived about a mile up the road. So every time I needed to take a shit or anything, I had to walk literally in ankle-high mud because it had been raining for 72 days straight.
The first few hours in Espedal were nerve-wracking to say the least. I couldn't stop thinking about what could happen over the next couple of days. But after a few bottles from Gall's extensive wine collection, we all began to loosen up, laugh and have a good time. You know we're here because we're interested in the man behind all the spikes and skull makeup
Of course, that might be one of my problems with when I talk to journalists. I talk to them as persons and not as journalists.
To keep it personal, Gall asked if, instead of doing a traditional interview, we could just put the camera on a tripod and talk.
What to follow the false gods will do, basically. It's you will be allowed to focus on the God within yourself, because that's the only true God. The God within everything. That's the only thing that Allah, for me, is worth calling God. It is the highest spirit of everything, and not this control freak that's telling you are not supposed to do this, you're not supposed to do this. You are only supposed to bow down and kneel before what I say. Don't think is more than anything else. It's God is within man, God is within nature, and nature will always grow. That's the force of all life, is to grow.
He personally took us all aside and critiqued us on what he thinks we could change about our lives and shit. And it's like he met us a day before, you know what I mean? And the thing that was blowing all of our minds, and we all got together the next day and had these little huddles when he wasn't around to talk about it, was how right on he was.
I think everyone was just speaking very freely, and of course the wine was flowing, and I think we all saw
a special side to Gaul.
There are many sides to him. Like, I think there's many sides to every human being. And of course, you know, we can all be a little evil sometimes.
Character that he is scares people. How direct he is about what he believes in.
One single word me and Gaul never will forget, and that's honest. The word honest.
This guy that has a reputation of being a badass and a Satanist and all sorts of other things, the rednecks out there want to challenge him or fuck with him, just like it would be in the States growing up if you were one of these kind of guys. So I think he gets, people will mess with him a little bit, and when he, as he says, when someone crosses my borders or, you know, steps on his foot, so to speak, that he teaches them a lesson.
You know, we were walking down the road one day and he showed me this little building, and he's like, that's my schoolhouse. He's like, yeah, I went to, between kindergarten and 18 years of age, I went to school there, and it was just me and one other kid. I was like, for 18 years you only went to school with one other person? And he was like, yeah, and that kid lived like 45 minutes away. So when school was done, he had to get on a car or a bus to go home. Like, I never got to, you know, hang out with him.
Skål for having a excellent time.
One of a kind.
One
of a kind.
I don't think of myself as someone who can paint. So that's why I quit art school, because you cannot go to school to become an artist.
I've seen some of the stuff you did before prison. It would be interesting to see something you did in prison, because you and me talked about how an extreme situation it was for you.
My whole process of creating is based on being away from people.
Yeah.
I think this was the
nice
last one I did before I went into prison, maybe.
Yeah?
I'm not certain, but yeah.
Gaul rarely shows anyone his paintings. He doesn't sell them, and he hasn't shown them publicly since 1993. So after days of asking, he finally let us take a look.
I had the exhibition in '93, and then I got just wrote completely ridiculous prices, way overpriced, of course, because I didn't want to sell them. And there were this person that wanted to buy it anyway, and I said, of course, that no, I've already sold it. So he didn't get it, so I've hidden them away since then.
On our third day in Espedal, the rain finally let up, so we traveled to Dale, the closest thing to Gaul's house resembling civilization. Yeah, Gaul just told me that the water's about 1.5 to 2 meters higher than it usually is, because they've had 76 days of rain here in a row, non-stop. I made several phone calls to everyone from reporters to local police, trying to get anyone to comment on Gaul. I was met with excuse after excuse. It seemed like the whole town was afraid of him. Until I finally convinced one journalist that had followed his case since the beginning to give me a brief interview.
Ja, det 4 stykker det, og de dreier seg alle om vold, og til dels veldig grov vold. Og det ser ut som de dommene blir grovere og grovere på hver dom.
The more recent case that he just got out of prison for was something similar. He was attacked, he beat this guy, held him down for a number of hours, I think tied him up while slapping him supposedly squeezing his balls, singing him pretty Norwegian lullabies while collecting his blood into a cup. The courts tried to say that he drank the guy's blood or he forced the guy to drink his own blood, but Gall claims it was just to prevent it from getting on his carpet.
All of them has been acknowledged as self-defense, actually. So, and but that have crossed borders. It's like with a painting, you don't stop until it's finished.
And do you think your punishment methods have been effective? Of course, these people aren't going to attack you again, but do you think you removed the sickness from their mind that would allow them to do this in the first place? Or do you think you just perpetuated it?
Let's put it this way: if they were of bad seed, they wouldn't spread it.
Det er slag og spark, og i noen av sakene så har det pågått i timevis, enligt de dommerne som foreligger. Og veldig grovt, og folk har vært skadet over veldig lang tid, sykemeldt i flere år. Slaget ned sine offer, og siden fortsatt mishandlingen mens de er ute av stand til å forsvare seg. I flere timer i noen av de tilfellene. Det står i de dommerne.
Just by saying no to someone, punish them enough, and someone you probably need to cut to small pieces and sew back together.
From the day we met Gall, he kept talking about bringing us to a place that was very important to him. After 3 days of waiting on a window of decent weather, we threw caution to the wind and followed him blindly into the wilderness. Only 3 of us had jackets, only 2 of us had boots, and none of us had any idea of where he'd take us.
Up there it's this waterfall I was talking about.
Yeah, will we get across the river?
But I don't think so. But maybe we can walk up here and walk around.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that.
That's quite a long journey.
Let's see how long we make it.
From the valley, he pointed out where we were headed, and it was this, snow-capped mountain off in the distance. And I thought he was joking. It was quite far.
So I put on basically every piece of clothing I had in my bag. I was wearing a pair of Nike high tops with plastic bags wrapped around my feet.
I become what never fails, following the footsteps behind me. I don't like to explain things to people because it's written in a way that it should open the mind of the listener's own thoughts. I have no interest in getting a flock of sheep that's just following me because I'm saying one direction and they walk that direction. Then it would be just as bad as society is. So fear is necessary to separate the ones that's willing to be led or the one who chooses to lead himself.
Men det är lite hårdare på sidorna av stigen hela tiden också.
Ja. Så det är lite...
There's so many of this sheep character that's drawn towards it as fans. There's so many lowlifes among the crowd. There's so many just there for the music and nothing else. You don't perform black metal if you're not a warrior. Black metal is a war against what everyone knows.
Ska vi ända upp dit?
Ja.
Fortsätta så vi får fånga ljuset.
As long as nature is not allowed to rule by the laws of nature, there will always be king and there will always be slave.
2 hours. At these elevations, my lungs are just fucking giving out. I don't know if I can go any farther up, man. That better be the top, because I don't think I can make it any farther. And at this point, I just fucking went into a panic, and I was just like, you know, this is fucking stupid. I don't know. You won't even really tell us where you're bringing us, or why you're bringing us, or what this is about, you know? Like, and I, you know, at a point, I was just like, I don't care what the fuck is at the top of the mountain, you know what I mean? Like, I don't, you know, it makes no difference to me. We're gonna jeopardize this whole entire project for some stupid fucking nature walk. This is about heavy metal, you know? This is about a band. This isn't Field and Stream magazine. Even when I stand still, I can't catch my breath right now. I don't know what to fucking do. I don't feel like this is fucking safe right now, man. They're just taking into regard what we need to see, dude. I don't fucking care about that at this point, man. I've seen enough. Yeah, I can't go up there, man. There's no physical way. I'll fucking... I know, thank you. Yeah, man. This is fucking pissing me off. Well, sit tight and I can go get him. I can't sit tight. I'll freeze. Seriously. What do you want to do, man? I gotta keep going. Yeah. And I know, but the way down even, I mean, we're putting ourselves in much jeopardy right now with this whole project. This is up here, you know. Like, I know that you thought that this was a necessary shot, but this camera isn't gonna work much longer.
Well, there's no choice at this point.
Well, I know.
We're at his grandparents' house. They built this themselves. As you can see, there's no trees up here, so they've been carrying on the timber up here. And
the Superman and the ideal will always conquer, or always rise above, no matter what. But you can not put down your sword, because then you lose.
Do you get frustrated being a lone wolf, or do you like it? Being one of the very few people who is worthy of the title of the elite person? Is it lonely?
I don't think that you ask me the right questions. I don't think I don't think you're focusing on what's being told.
Guide me.